It began with whispers. The kind of whispers that ripple through a film set and change everything. For nearly a decade, Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe had been the beating heart of Outlander. Their chemistry, trust, and friendship were legendary, the kind that couldn't be faked. But in the summer of 2026, during the filming of the final season, something shifted. Crew members described it as a sudden silence. The easy laughter that once filled the set was gone. They stopped talking for days, said one crew insider. At first, we thought it was just exhaustion. But soon, it was clear. Something had broken between them. It all started with a single scene, one of the most emotionally charged moments of the entire series. Sam and Caitriona had been rehearsing it for weeks, both deeply invested in its meaning. But when the final version of the script arrived, something had changed. The dialogue, once raw and poetic, had been rewritten. Sam reportedly wasn't happy. The original lines had power, he told a producer. They meant something. Caitriona, however, believed the new version was more honest to their characters' journey. People evolve, she said firmly. Jamie and Claire deserve growth, not repetition. At first, it was a creative disagreement, normal for actors who cared deeply about their craft. But as the day went on, the tension grew. Sam wanted to discuss it privately. Caitriona insisted they stick to the schedule. The director tried to mediate, but emotions were running high. By mid-afternoon, the set had gone cold. They're both perfectionists, one assistant recalled. They've built this story together for years. So when they disagree, it's not just about words, it's about legacy. The argument reportedly escalated behind closed doors. Voices were raised, not out of anger, but frustration. They weren't enemies, said the same insider. They just cared too much. That was the problem. When the crew returned the next day, Sam was distant, quiet, focused only on his scenes. Caitriona avoided eye contact, immersing herself in her lines. For the first time, the bond that had defined Outlander seemed fractured. Social media fans noticed almost immediately. Normally, the pair would post playful selfies or behind-the-scenes clips together. But for weeks, there was nothing. No shared interviews, no friendly comments. Fan accounts began to speculate. Something's wrong. They're too quiet. By the third week, the atmosphere on set had become unbearable. Some crew members whispered that filming might have to pause. Others said they saw Caitriona crying in her trailer after a long night shoot. One lighting technician described the moment vividly. She just sat there, holding the old version of the script in her hands. She looked heartbroken. The producers were worried. We were filming the final season, one recalled. The world was watching. If they couldn't find common ground, the whole project could collapse. Rumors spread that both actors had requested time off. Sam was seen leaving the studio early one evening, heading toward the hills near Loch Lomond, his favorite escape when things got overwhelming. A few days later, Caitriona reportedly flew back to London to clear her head. For the first time in 10 years, the Outlander family felt like it was falling apart. Then, something unexpected happened. An email was sent to the production office, subject line, "Arriving in Glasgow, DG." It was from Diana Gabaldon, the woman who had created Outlander, the very soul behind Jamie and Claire's story. "She didn't ask," said a member of the crew. "She told us, I'm coming. Don't schedule the final scene until I speak to them." When Diana landed in Scotland 2 days later, everyone felt the shift. It was like the calm before a storm, one producer recalled. No one knew what she would say, but everyone knew she was the only person they'd listen to. She requested a private meeting. "No managers, no producers, no PR," she said firmly. "Just the three of us." That evening, in a quiet conference room overlooking the rain-soaked city, Sam and Caitriona sat side by side, for the first time in weeks, waiting. The tension was thick, the silence heavier than words. Then, the door opened. Diana Gabaldon walked in, calm but commanding. She placed her notes on the table, looked at them both, and said softly, "You've forgotten why we started this story." Neither of them spoke. Sam looked down. Caitriona folded her hands tightly. Diana's voice was steady but warm. I chose you too because you understood something most actors never do. That love isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. You can't end this story with silence. The room stayed still, her words hanging in the air like rain. Whatever happened next between them would decide not only the fate of the show, but the legacy of one of television's most iconic partnerships. And as the night deepened over Glasgow, one thing was clear. Something was about to change forever. The next morning, the rain had not stopped. It poured over Glasgow like a curtain, soft but relentless, as if the sky itself refused to look away from what was happening behind closed doors at the Outlander production offices. Inside a quiet conference room, Diana Gabaldon sat across from Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe. The two actors who had once moved as one now sat apart, the silence between them louder than any argument. Diana didn't rush, she simply watched them for a long moment before speaking. When I wrote Outlander, she began softly, I never imagined it would become what it is today. But from the moment you two read those lines, I knew. You were never just Jamie and Claire, you were the story. Caitriona exhaled slowly, her eyes glistening. Sam looked away. I don't care about the scene, Diana continued. I don't care about who was right or wrong about a line of dialogue. What matters is why you fought. Because that tells me what you've both forgotten. Sam finally spoke, his voice low but steady. We just see it differently, Diana. I wanted to protect what we built, the original emotion, the power. And when it changed, I felt like we were losing the soul of it. Caitriona looked up. And I wanted us to grow, she said quietly. After all these years, after everything Jamie and Claire have endured, I didn't want them to just repeat their past. I wanted them to move forward. I thought, maybe it was time. Diana smiled sadly. And that's exactly what makes you both perfect for these roles. You're fighting for love, just like them. The room fell silent again. Then, with a soft chuckle, Diana leaned back. Do you know what's funny? The reason this show works isn't because you agree. It's because you don't. That tension, that push and pull, that's what keeps it alive. But somewhere along the way, you started protecting the story instead of living it. Sam's jaw tightened. Caitriona's eyes dropped to the floor. Then Diana's tone softened. You two built something rare. A partnership that millions believe in. That's bigger than one scene, bigger than any script. Don't let pride destroy what love created. For a long moment, no one spoke. Outside, thunder rolled distantly, echoing through the glass. Finally, Caitriona whispered, I didn't mean to hurt him. Sam looked at her then. Really looked at her. You didn't, he said quietly. I just forgot how much this all means to you too. Diana smiled. There it is. That's the truth I came here to remind you of. By the time they left that room, something had shifted. They didn't hug, didn't apologize in grand words. But the air between them was lighter, the kind of silence that comes not from distance, but understanding. The next day, filming resumed. Crew members held their breath as Sam and Caitriona stepped onto set. The scene they had fought over was the one scheduled to shoot. It began with Jamie and Claire sitting across from each other, both exhausted and scarred by years of war and loss. The script called for a quiet conversation, forgiveness, without saying the word itself. When the director called, action, something magical happened. Sam looked at Caitriona, his eyes soft but heavy. She looked back, her breath trembling. What followed wasn't performance, it was release. Real emotion, raw and unfiltered. By the time the scene ended, both were in tears. The director whispered, cut, but no one moved. The entire set stayed silent. Then, slowly, the crew began to clap. Diana, watching from behind the monitor, wiped a tear from her eye. That, she whispered, is Outlander. That evening, Sam posted a photo to Instagram. A behind-the-scenes shot of him and Caitriona standing together in costume, smiling at each other. The caption read, back where we belong. Thank you, Diana. Minutes later, Caitriona shared the same photo with a single word. Family. The post went viral instantly. Fans who had been worried about the rumored feud filled the comments with joy and relief. #Outlander family forever trended globally for 2 days straight. Diana, meanwhile, wrote a short message on Twitter that perfectly captured the moment. Even in chaos, love was always their language. That quote was shared thousands of times. By the end of the week, the set had returned to its old rhythm. Laughter between takes, quiet talks between scenes, the same trust that had built the show from the start. The storm had passed, but it left something purer behind. Months later, when Outlander 2026 finally wrapped, Diana reflected on that tense summer. "They remind me of Jamie and Claire," she said in an interview. "They fight, they break, they heal. But they never stop caring. That's what makes their story timeless." And for Sam and Caitriona, that final season became more than an ending, it became a renewal. A reminder that even through chaos, misunderstanding, and pride, what connected them wasn't just the show. It was something far deeper, something that no script could ever write.